Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of your Brains Coach podcast. My name is Angela Shurina. I'm your host, I'm your Brains Coach, and it is my job here to bring to you all the brain body tools you can use to feel, look, and do your absolute best. When it comes to feeling, looking, and doing our best, the brain, folks, is very, very, very important. And why is that? Well, your brain makes all the decisions. And so if you do not take good care of it or do not know how to push your brain's buttons, so to speak, your brain will start to malfunction. And by malfunction, I mean it will start making decisions that don't really work for you. They might work short term, but long term, they're gonna destroy all of your goals. And that's how a lot of people end up feeling like the brain is against them, is because our brain is kind of like a machine, kind of like a computer, but also kind of very much not like it. I guess if you don't take care of your computer by, I don't know, maybe using some voltage that is not appropriate, maybe running a lot of processes at the same time, making your computer to slow down and, some programs to shut down or maybe the whole thing to shut down. Maybe there is also, a thing that if you don't take care of your computer, it's also going to start to malfunction. But when it comes to our brain, it's definitely the case. And by not taking care of it, I mean not moving, not sleeping well, not having the brain appropriate nutrition, and so many things, that can make your brain's performance not that great. And on this podcast, it is my job, my passion to bring to you all these pieces and bits of sciences, different sciences, neuroscience and science about our health and sleep science and exercise science and nutrition science. Bring to you all of these pieces of information and combine them with practical takeaways that you can put into practice right away to make your brain the way you want it to work and the kind of decision that you want your brain to make. Long story short, let's jump into our brain news that I'm bringing to you on this beautiful Monday morning. It's still dark, by the way, here. And I'm making this podcast in the dark to start the day, start the week, hopefully starting your day on a completely different note as well. First, let's talk about money. Can money buy happiness? It depends on why you are spending it. So this is at a Greater Good Berkeley University magazine or, online newspaper. According to new research, our purchases may make us happier when they are motivated by goals we care about. So this whole article, there was this argument that experiences make people happier than purchasing physical goods or, digital goods, etc., right? So when we spend money on experiences, we tend to be happier. That's what the conventional wisdom was. But now they did better studies, and it turns out that's not exactly true because, there are some experiences, like for me, if I spend money on going to a nightclub, it's an experience that I absolutely do not like and will not make me happy, and I will feel all the time like I wasted all of my money. That's why I never spend my money there. I learned that. But then sometimes you don't know whether the experience you're gonna like, and you spend money on it, and it ends up being absolute trash. And I'll explain what trash means in just a second, according to this new study. And then you that was a waste of money, right? So it's not just about whether that was an experience or whether that was something physical. And some stuff that is physical, that it might be digital, you buy it and you're like, yeah, that brought me, quite a bit of happiness, right? And so what this new study showed, published in the British Journal of Social Psychology, what this new study showed is that what makes people happy at the kind of money spendings and purchases are the kind of purchases that are aligned with our goals. So if my primary value or goal, self-improvement, learning, so whenever I spend money on things like books and courses, it makes me really, really, really happy. Now, it is not an experience. Well, in some cases it is, but when I buy a book, it's not an experience, but it makes me happier. Reading that book makes me happy about myself, about who I am. But then compare that to buying, well, what do I don't care about? I don't care about brand named clothes. Like if I were to spend a lot of money on a piece of clothing, buy some, amazing brand, even if that piece of clothing totally fit and look beautiful. Now that thing would bring me a little bit of satisfaction, but it wouldn't make me feel happy at the core. And that's the difference. But the same with experiences. If the experience made me feel happy about my goals, if the experience was aligned with my goals, that money spending, according to research of published in British Journal of Social Psychology, that would make me happy. And if I think about all of my money spendings, purchases, etc., that's exactly the case. What makes me happier is the fact whether that purchase was aligned with my goals. So think about that. And if you want your money to bring you more happiness, as the researchers recommend, next time you're about to spend that money, think about your goals, about your values. Is this purchase aligned with your goals, with your values? And if it isn't, then maybe put it off for like a week, and you'll probably be much happier because of the fact that you didn't buy it and you didn't spend that money, and maybe instead you spent those money on things that actually matter to you. That's why, a lot of times buying things for our loved ones or our friends or whoever you really cherish in your life. That's why maybe it feels really, really, really good, because we really, really, really value them in our lives. So that's what this study showed. So why I'm bringing this on our podcast, Your Brains Coach podcast, is because your mental state, your mood, your well-being, how happy you feel internally, it colors your life. It defines the quality of your life. So, and you spend money every single day. So might as well make yourself a little bit happier. That's why also spending money on healthy foods is really pleasurable for me, because it's so aligned with my values of health, of well-being, of personal excellence, right? So think about that. If you want, again, your money to make you happy, even though they say money doesn't make you happy, but again, it's quite questionable. The next one is an interesting one. If you are a fan of manifestation and sign up for the idea of thoughts changing your reality, you'll definitely like this one. So Neuroscience News published a new article, neuroscience.com, and they have neuroscience news here that come from different institutions and different publications that are all of good quality. So thought power, altering tactile perception with the power of imagination. Again, let me read to you this again. Thought power, altering tactile perception with the power of imagination. Summary. Researchers have discovered that our beliefs, when strongly held, can actually change how we physically experience the world around us. In a new study, participants were hypnotized and convinced to believe their index finger was either 5 times smaller or 5 times larger than its actual size. When participants believed their finger was larger, they could feel 2 close together needle pricks at separate points, something they couldn't do before. So to give you a little bit of background, our tactile system, sensory system, is designed, quote unquote, nobody really designed it, probably evolved, designed this way when the something that touches our finger, for example, is small enough when there are two things and they're small enough and they're close enough together, we experience it as one. It's kind of like tactile resolution. You can only experience that many points of contact when they're close together and they're small enough. Now, when they're further apart, you're gonna experience them as two objects. So that's what would usually happen. They would put two needles close together and the person would experience them as one. They would put them apart and a person would experience them as two. But then they told them, like, your finger now is 5 times smaller. And by doing that, they increased the resolution of that finger, so to speak. And now when they put the needles together, participants could feel that even though they couldn't feel them like as two different objects before. So, and it actually, not a part, but there were a few other studies testing, for example, satiety from the same exact shake. And in one case, people were told that this shake was diet shake and, it was kind of like low calorie, etc. And in the other case, they told the participants that the shake was very nutritious, was very rich, high in calories, etc. And so people's metabolism actually changed based on their belief. They didn't just feel more satiated, even their blood sugar response changed to the same thing across all of the people. So it was a consistent result, not a fluke in some people. And so that by the way, folks, really makes sense. Your brain uses your thoughts, your beliefs, uses all of your systems to gather information about an experience, about an object. And one of that stream of information is your own thought pattern, your own belief pattern that is supposed to be aligned with reality. But in the case of hypnosis, like this study, it wasn't aligned with reality. And they were just hypnotized and made believe that their finger got bigger or smaller. That was not real, but they believed it because hypnosis is quite a powerful thing when done right. And because of that, again, their resolution of their finger, how well they could experience the tactile sensation and how fine the sensation was, the differentiation was, it changed. Kind of cool. So before getting into any experience or doing something, make sure that your beliefs are on point. Like if you're about to study something, confirm to yourself, I'm a fast learner. I have a great memory. It is easy for me to implement my learnings into my life and work, right? Confirm, make it believable, and then find confirmation in reality. So confirmation bias works for you, not against you. And then your brain will work better according to all the similar studies that now are out there. And again, those are studies not from some weird journal sponsored by some, company. No, those are actually published from quite good universities in great publications. The next one, BBC Science Focus. 8 foods you should eat for a healthier, happier brain according to science. And the reason I'm bringing to you this article, folks, is there is more and more research in all the different publications about how our food affects our brain performance, and more specifically what people are worried about. People are always worried about the pain more. So specifically, people are worried about cognitive decline. Nobody wants to lose their mind with, their age. We all want to live till the end of our life, however long, however short, and we want to keep our mind together. Nobody wants to be taken care of and feel like they are senile and they cannot take care of themselves and cannot really experience life to the fullest. Nobody wants that. Like, this is a nightmare, right? And so people are interested in that because they don't want the opposite, the pain. And also a lot of people are experiencing more and more mental health problems, and foods seem to be a crucial element in your mental state and your mood and your happiness. And so that's why I always try to bring this new, studies and papers, especially publish something. Well, BBC doesn't always publish all the, great stuff, but more often than that, they publish something that is legitimate. So the article starts, mental health problems are on the rise, yet there is a growing evidence that the food we eat may be a vital ingredient to help us feel better. Is it now a case that not only you are what you eat, but you also think how you eat? And folks, you know me, and I've been bringing to you this kind of news all the time to confirm this idea. There are books out there written by scientists from Cambridge and Oxford and all kinds of universities from around the world about the effect of foods on our thought process, on our mood, on our decision making, and ultimately the actions we take and the life we end up living. So fermented foods, food number 1. This has to do with, so again, we are reading 8 foods you should eat for a healthier, happier brain according to science. Fermented foods. What are those? All kinds of naturally fermented, unpasteurized sauerkraut, kimchi, kefir, cheeses, live yogurt, miso, tempeh, fermented pickles, kombucha, all help to boost the diversity of beneficial microbes in our gut that produce all kinds of chemical compounds that travel through our bloodstream, through gut-brain axis towards our brain and change the way it works. Some scientists even say that maybe microbes, all the trillions of them, created this human being to carry them around and gather food. So but what is not questionable, folks, is that those gut microbes, our tenants of our gut, they do affect our brain performance, our mood, our decision-making process through this, chemical, not warfare, but chemical signaling, but also they send signals via neurotransmitters and electrical signals. So eat your fermented foods. What is not questionable at this point is that eating fermented foods of great quality improves your gut microbiome by increasing diversity. Number 2, tea, coffee, and dark chocolate are foods rich in polyphenols. And I drink coffee, tea, and eat dark chocolate every day for that specific reason. So they enhance the elasticity of blood vessels, allowing blood to flow more freely. And that means a lot of oxygen and nutrients to your brain, folks. Also, polyphenols are converted into phenolic acids, which have a protective effect on our brain cells. So gut converts those polyphenols in those acids, right? So that's where a healthy gut is also very crucial. To make your polyphenols work, you actually need your gut to work. It's kind of, holistic system. Leafy greens, chard, kale, cabbage, spinach, watercress, rocket are abundant in various nutrients, keratin, folate, vitamin K, magnesium, which are involved in the function of the brain and nervous system. They slow down the aging of the brain, improve, cognitive decline, they are connected to better memory, and reduce dementia risk, among others. So leafy greens, I personally have a rule. Get a lot of greens. Like yesterday I ate, 300-400 grams of spinach. And the way to do it, is to steam it a little bit and it shrinks. And now you can mix it with different spices and salt, put it in your salad, eating a ton of them really, really fast. And by, kind of steaming, applying temperature, what you do is you remove some of the water, and greens are mostly water, but you preserve all the nutrients if you do it the right way. So leafy greens, I have a rule again to eat them every day. And in fact, there were quite a few articles about the brain being younger by 10 years in the people who eat leafy greens or any kind of greens really every single day. Because broccoli is also quite an amazing green, but it's not leafy. Raw unsalted nuts like almonds, Brazil nuts, hazelnuts, pistachios, walnuts, they are valuable sources of polyphenols. And again, we know that this phenolic acid that our gut produces in response reduces inflammation, oxidation. That, by the way, can increase the aging of your brain and cognitive decline, the rate of that. So nuts with all the different compounds help to protect from them. Plus, they are a great source of vitamin E, and vitamin E is one of the 2 major protectors, antioxidants of your cell membranes, and Everything, and your brain is a big fat bomb with a lot of different structures that incorporate a lot of fats, and vitamin E helps to make sure that those fatty acids don't oxidize and don't go bad, so to speak, don't create pro-inflammatory compounds. So that's why vitamin E is very important. By the way, if you eat a lot of omega-3s like I do, make sure that your vitamin E sources are on point. Like nuts and seeds, especially hazelnuts or almonds are rich in that, or avocados are rich in that, because that, again, vitamin E allows those omega-3s to function without becoming oxidized or and pro-inflammatory. So vitamin E is crucial for many different things, folks. But just remember, eat sources like nuts and seeds, avocados of it every day. Berries increase the production of compound that supports the survival of brain cells, so that improve attention and short-term memory, among other cognitive functions of our brain. So berries, I personally eat them also every day, usually frozen blueberries, because it's not as easy to get fresh berries of all sorts everywhere. But well frozen berries are just as good, very often are better than the ones that were stored and transported for God knows how many miles and hours and days. So berries, one of those foods that you want to eat every day for your brain. Beans and whole grains, these foods are rich in fiber, and when microbes in the gut break down that fiber, they create short chain fatty acids that keep gut barrier healthy and protect the brain from inflammation and oxidative stress. Most people do not consume enough fiber. If you want to maximize the kind of fiber that your gut used to produce those fatty acids, beans are your champions. Not only are they either lower or sugars completely non-existent in beans, they have complex carbohydrates throughout all of them. They are much richer in fiber than whole grains, and also in most people trigger much less of a sensitivity or kind of similar to allergic reactions. So lentils, beans, I eat at least a cup of them every single day. And no, you don't have to cook them every day. I usually cook a whole bunch of beans for a week and then just add a cup to my meals. So beans and whole grains, seafood and seaweed, amazing sources of minerals. If you can eat seafood as a source of almost all of your proteins except eggs, because we need those for choline and this memory molecule. Anyhow, seafood and seaweed contain iodine and a lot of other minerals that are super crucial for brain health, your thyroid health, that supports healthy energy, that supports healthy brain. So seafood and seaweed, again, try to eat as much seafood as possible of good quality, sourced well. And oily fish, it's kind of like 7 and 8. Most of my seafood is either oily fish or shellfish that is super rich in minerals. So oily fish, high in omega-3s. Omega-3s are very important. Our brain is made of, structural material. One of the richest structural material of our brain is omega-3, specifically DHA, but EPA are also important for their anti-inflammatory properties and also to help create healthier cell membranes so our neurons can communicate with each other really fast, really easily. It is recommended to from the scientists who are really deep into nutrition, they recommend to get for all health purposes and for your brain performance and health, no less than 2 grams, especially if you are, if you care about your brain, if your work depends on your brain performance, and also it is highly recommended for athletes who use their nervous system, not exactly in a cognitive kind of way, but in a physical kind of way. Even though I would argue physical skills are just as cognitive. You have to think through different movements in order to be an efficient, effective mover. You don't just kind of arrive to that. Your brain has to analyze a lot of information in your environment in order to move effectively. And I actually went out this weekend to do climbing, indoor climbing, and playing tennis. And the brain definitely thinks a lot, and it definitely teaches you that you kind of have to figure a lot of things out to get even decently good at any of those skills. But I was pretty good. I think that's because my brain is super healthy and capable. In tennis, I haven't played in like ages. And when I first picked up the ball and the racket, I was a complete mess. But then I picked up it in the next like 5 minutes and was pretty decent. So yeah, oily fish, eat it. It's going to make your brain fast and going to protect your brain from its own damage. So that's about the, most important foods for happy, healthy brain. Now, a fun article, but an article still, the research. This article was published in Italian magazine. I use some of my Italian knowledge, but then also switched to Google Translator. And it's been published in Nature Communication Journal. So the translated name of the article, breakfast, these foods for breakfast activate your brain. And the study was interesting because they measured the alertness and your cognitive performance after different kinds of breakfast. And they measured the alertness and performance with 3 types of breakfast. Breakfast rich in carbohydrates, but all foods were healthy. We're not talking here about, croissants or some white bread and jelly. No, we're talking about things like fruit and berries and things like oatmeal or things like some beans. So all those kind of carbohydrates that come from sources that were not refined, right? So one breakfast was higher in carbohydrates. The other breakfast was higher in proteins, and the third breakfast was balanced with protein and carbs and fats. And what they found was the best breakfast for alertness and brain performance was the balanced breakfast, the one that I always try to recommend. Get your carbs, get your proteins, get your fats, but of course get it with a lot of fiber that naturally comes in those sources of carbohydrates. And that's what I noticed too. When I eat that kind of breakfast, I eat it, and for the next 6-7 hours, I don't really need something. I might, eat an apple or something, but if I don't have it, I feel totally fine. And I also tried no breakfast. I tried protein breakfast, high carbohydrate breakfast. Yes, I tried that too when I was a teenager. And my athletic career, I don't really remember how it affected me. After that, I didn't kind of try high carb breakfast only. But from my experience with clients, when they learn how to eat good quality balanced breakfast, they feel amazing. No fasting will compare to that. And your alertness and your mental performance, like if you're into intermittent fasting, just try it. Try a balanced breakfast, not too big, from whole foods that contain decent amount of protein, decent amount of carbs, protein meaning about 30 grams plus, decent amount of carbohydrates. Probably you want to shoot for, 50 grams or so with at least 10 grams of fiber. That's actually based on research, folks. So if you want to know the numbers again, shoot for 50-60 grams of carbohydrates with at least 10 grams of fiber. Fiber is important. And then introduce healthy fats, either in your foods, like I eat eggs for breakfast, quite a lot of fat there. I also add walnuts there. So this is what would, be your balanced breakfast, where you get 3 of those. And that's the best breakfast, research finds, for alertness and cognitive performance. And then the last but not least, I've already been rambling a lot. Neuroscience.com, they summarized a lot of research about exercise and the brain. So the name of the article, Exercise and the Brain, the Neuroscience of Fitness Explored. So the summary. Key facts: aerobic exercise and brain volume. A regular aerobic exercise like running can increase the size of hippocampus and preserve vital brain matter, improving spatial memory and cognitive function. So aerobic exercise have been proven to increase the volume of your brain, especially memory centers, and improve your brain performance. Exercise and sleep quality. Regular physical activity can enhance sleep quality, which in turn supports memory consolidation and toxin removal in the brain. So exercise for better sleep, folks. Exercise and stress reduction. Exercise can help manage stress by increasing norepinephrine or adrenaline in the brain, endorphin levels, those happy molecules, also the levels of dopamine and other beneficial molecules like serotonin, chemicals that moderate the brain's response to stress and induce feelings of happiness. So exercise, folks, to improve your memory, to improve your sleep, to improve your ability to cope with stress and have great mood no matter what. So that's what exercise can do for you, among a lot of other things. There are books written on exercise, how it affects our brain performance, our mood, our mental state. Another, thing from the same article, one key discovery is the relationship between exercise and neurogenesis, the creation of new brain cells. This primarily occurs in the hippocampus, this memory center, an area of the brain fundamental to learning and memory. Regular physical activity triggers the release of protein called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, which nurtures existing neurons and encourages the growth and development of new neurons and synapses. So exercise makes your brain grow. And of course it will, because it increases oxygenation, nutrient delivery, increases blood circulation and creation of new blood vessels in our brain. So many great things are happening in our brain when we exercise. So if you cognitively do not feel as well as you'd like to be, and you don't exercise, then please do start exercise. That's the core message. The science is undeniable, and it's stupid at this point to not use your exercise as your brain enhancer. Works better than any nootropic out there could wish for. That's my personal addition, not in the article. And that's it for today, folks. I hope you learned a bunch of great stuff that you can apply to your breakfast, to your money spending, to your exercise routine. If it's not consistent, make it consistent. I have a rule for myself and my clients: never do nothing. Do whatever, even if it's today for only 5 minutes of high intensity training like burpees or jumping jacks. Do that. But do move. Never do nothing. Your brain deserves it. And before you look into any sorts of nootropics and all kinds of brain enhancing compounds, start moving and see how your brain will be transformed. That's it for today, folks. I think for a 6 a.m. podcasting session, that wasn't that bad. And that happens when your brain is healthy, when you sleep well, when you recover, when you exercise, when you nurture your brain through nutrition. Your brain always works all right. And even if you do struggle with some condition like ADHD, things will improve dramatically. They still, in science, debate either whether that's nature or nurture. And seems like the majority of votes and data is on the side of nurture. What it means is what you do actually matters more than your genetics. There is also a good saying: genes load the gun, environment pulls the trigger. Genes or your genetics loads the gun, and environment pulls the trigger. So remember that. The key to your greatness is in your hands, folks. And by the way, a couple of more minutes, I always forget to advertise something that is happening that I'm super passionate about. Can I do that, folks? So June 22nd, my Optimized Brain 6-week Mastermind Plus challenge is starting, where we're going to learn how to create high energy lifestyle so you always have a lot of energy. We're going to learn how to increase, improve, make your focus very strong and long lasting, on demand, exactly when you need it. We're going to learn how to cancel procrastination out of your life, learning how your brain works and how to make it do what you want it to do exactly when you want it to do. We're going to learn the science and practice of internal fire of motivation. We're going to learn how to make yourself motivated according to science, no matter what. We're going to master, of course, brain nutrition for learning, for memory, for flow states, for focus, for dopamine optimization. If you struggle with ADHD, we're going to learn all of that. And then we're going to learn how to create, how to manage stress. steps how to create the perfect recovery protocol so you never burn out. We're going to learn how to manage anxiety and difficult emotions so they work for your personal growth. This is for people, folks. We're going to also learn how to become a badass and memorizing stuff, how to set up for accelerated learning and flow state on demand. This, folks, is for highly driven people who are eager to elevate their skills, their mindsets. We're gonna supercharge your progress and catapult you towards your goals at accelerated speeds. You're gonna radiate unshakable confidence. So don't resign yourself to mediocrity. Seize this opportunity to join my optimized brain, because seating is limited. It's only me who's going to be working with you folks. And there's going to be a pair-up system, and I'm going to work one-on-one through a set of calls, and we're going to have our group sessions. That's why it's mastermind. We're also going to have our group chat, learning all this material together. So don't resign yourself to mediocrity. Seize this opportunity to join this training today. The link is in the show notes. Remember, the key to greatness is in your hands. So act now. And that's it for today, folks. And don't forget to please share this podcast with all the amazing brain news in it, from breakfast to spending money to make yourself happy, to exercise, and why it's so important to make your brain a badass. So share this. Check out my optimized braining. The greatness is in your hands. And till next time, till Wednesday, that is, have an awesome beginning of the week, and know that you can do anything.